Welcome to the Redemption Recap, reminding you of what is happening here at Redemption. Here is today's episode.
Hey, welcome to this week's edition of the Redemption Recap. My name is Steven. I have returned after Kayla's dismal performance last week.
Ow, so hurtful.
Oh, that was me. I'm so sorry. You did fantastic. I didn't watch it.
Why am I not surprised?
Sure, actually, I haven't watched it. I will.
Okay.
Maybe. Depends how long of a drive I have this week. Right?
I don't need your feedback on it.
That's great. Anyway, welcome to this week's Redemption Recap. I am your host, Steven. This is my co-host.
Kayla.
Isn't she? Kayla. She is. Hey, this week we're going to talk about three things. Number one, we're going to do a little bit of a recap from the weekend yesterday. Then we're going to talk about our upcoming feast and worship. And then we're going to talk about Wednesday nights.
Yeah.
Three things going on here at Redemption. So let's start with our weekend recap.
Yeah.
What did we do yesterday?
We had quite a bit that happened on Sunday.
That's true. Made some announcements.
Yeah. We announced one new thing, which is the introduction of Mike Edwards. Tell us about it.
Michael Allen Edwards.
Yes.
Yes. So Mike, many of you guys know Mike. He's been teaching, filling in, teaching. He taught at our marriage conference, Clear Truth Conference, and then also he's done a couple of weekend teachings. So anyway, this last weekend we announced that Mike is going to start a 6-month pastoral fellowship around here. So he and his wife are moving from Michigan down to the Toledo area, and he'll be here every Sunday, every Wednesday, and really the pastoral fellowship will be like this kind of a little bit more than part-time thing because Mike has some business interests that he does on the side remotely, but it's really a pursuit of full-time ministry. He's not planning the church that he had previously talked about. Yep. So we mentioned that, and even this was important to me, the money that we raised earlier this year to go toward a church plant. We said, Mike, go to Mike's. It didn't go because there was no church plant, so that money's still around. We'll invest it into the kingdom at some point, and then we'll let everybody know it. But Mike will be here and really kind of serving in like kind of like an associate pastor role for the next couple of months as we figure out like, hey, is this a good fit for them? Is it a good fit for us? But he's going to be here, so people might as well get to know him, hang out, grab coffee, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And he is going to do some fun things for like those of you who are engaged or like seriously dating, having some avenues for some
not like joking dating.
Seriously dating. Yeah.
It's a serious business.
Yes. Which it should be anyway.
Always.
But we want to have some sort of kind of guidance, premarital counseling, have a couple like Mike and
Sherry.
Sherry to be able to like kind of pour into that like season of life. And so we're really excited about that.
Engaged, young marrieds without kids for the most part, just because of group dynamics. Yep. So they'll start a weekly group with that and then do some premarital counseling. So those are things he's going to be doing.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Starting September 1st.
Yeah, so it's coming soon.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
What else did we talk about yesterday?
Well, we did talk about the fact that there is a Clear Truth conference tour.
Oh, yes.
So let's hear about it.
Yeah, so Clear Truth Tour, it's completely funded by TP USA. So thank you, Charlie Kirk. Yep, grateful for that. We're going to be going 4 stops. First one is this week. And Thursday, we're going to Michigan. We're going to Wisconsin. Then we're going to Pennsylvania and North Carolina.
So cool.
So 4 stops, again, all funded by TP USA. This is in conjunction with Clear Truth Media. And then it's kind of a mini version of the Clear Truth Conference that we did here earlier this year. So a lot of the same speakers, Joel, Megan, Michael, Rob, and then a couple of other fill-ins along the way.
Yeah.
So it'll be super fun. If you want to go to one of them, you can certainly check out. We posted about it on Facebook. We posted about it on Facebook last week, so you can see where all the tour dates are. The tickets are only $30 since Clear Truth, or not Clear Truth, since TPUSA is funding the bill. They can sell tickets for a lot cheaper.
That's awesome. Yeah. And we'll put a link to it below this video for those of you who want like a quick access to see what's going on there.
Yeah, and then come and join us. I mean, some people ask me, like, can we come? Like, absolutely. It'd be nice to have a little hometown
The more the
crowd.
Merrier. Yeah.
Yeah, especially there are 2 that are really drivable. The Michigan one this weekend, and then the one that's like outside of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
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 So it's going to be super fun. So yeah, we talked about that, and then I preached a sermon too.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it was about being more than a conqueror, which is like about winning, which I understand that's not something you understand, like winning.
All I do is win, win, win.
All I do is
no
win.
matter what.
Yes. What's your go-to board game that you know you're gonna win if you play?
Ooh, that's kind kind of hard. I feel like I have a pretty good track record with Veiled Fate. I love that one.
Veiled Fate?
Yes, I know. It's so good.
That sounds like a Calvinist game where you like determine whether or not someone's going to heaven or hell. Is that what it is?
That is the whole game. Yeah.
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 You're like heaven, hell.
Yeah.
You just pick for people?
No.
Yeah,
that's
based
not
upon
at
their
all.
outside appearances?
Yes.
Yeah. Like a good legalist.
So probably that one.
What is the game? Can you give me like a 9-second?
Yeah, there's like voting that happens in like different regions around the board.
So it is like Calvinism.
It's good. And you like, no one knows who you are. And there's like a lot of pawns in the game that like are not actually being played by anyone. So you're basically trying to like get your person to like get victory points without anyone really knowing who you are, because then they'll try and stop you. So
That's the veiled part.
yes, it's very fun.
Veiled Fate.
Yeah.
You can buy it in the links below, and
cannot.
Redemption gets a 10% kickback
It's not true.
from Amazon for your purchase today.
I know that you're going to probably say Catan for you.
I never lost. I mean, I have lost a couple times, but not often.
You just block it out as if it didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So Romans 8:37.
Yeah.
No, in all these things we are more than conquerors through Him who loved us. Did you have any thoughts from yesterday?
I know that we were kind of talking earlier. I've been thinking through this idea of like what does it look like to conquer? I think a lot of my like study outside of Sunday mornings has been on the book of Judges. So like looking through Gideon's story and taking a look at how sometimes the book of Judges is full of like unconventional victories, like almost like God is making the victory happen in like the weirdest way humanly possible so that no one else could say that it was because of them that it happened.
Sure.
And so it's been really interesting to read through some of that because I've been thinking through Gideon's story and how originally his army had like 32,000 and then more than half of them fled because they were scared. So then it was left with 10,000. And God was like, that's still too many. And so he did this whole test of how they drink water at a river. And 300 of the men drink water in a certain way. And God was like, that's my bunch. And I was thinking through if I would have been Gideon in this, right? Like it's really easy to say like, be obedient to God in the seasons when you're not seeing the victory, knowing the victory is coming. But then you're seeing all these like practical things playing out and you're like, okay, but how is the victory coming?
Yeah.
And I think it can be a real tug and pull between us to like read that verse and knowing like we're more than conquerors. But then when you're in a situation where you're not seeing the conquering or it's not happening in the most conventional way, you're like, what's happening? And so I feel like I've been really encouraged by some of those Old Testament stories that like we are more than conquerors. And a lot of the ways that God provided that victory was not in the conventional way. Like they didn't even use swords. They used
like pots
torches
and
and jars.
Yeah.
And so it's like not even what they were being equipped with felt like the normal things to win a battle. But God was like, I have a plan. I've got this. So I feel like when we were going through Romans 8:37, I was thinking through the fact that like not boxing in the conventional path to being more than conqueror. Like it can look different than how we're anticipating it.
Yeah, and I think that victory always, and the path to victory can look way different and not to give up hope. So as I use 3 stories, Noah, Joshua, and David. And even as you look at those different things, there's of course like the fun things to apply.
Yeah.
But if you look at the process of those things, Noah was told to do something, and the moment he started to the moment it actually was completed was a long time, a very long time.
With a fair amount of opposition.
Yes. And it would have been that kind of opposition that was like, just like ridicule.
Why are you crazy?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You misunderstood the voice of God. What are you doing? So for that one, you draw away the lesson of the victory sometimes it's a much longer process, right? From the moment you start to the moment you end. Then you think about David and his victory over Goliath. From a practical perspective, right? There was the equipping and the training over time. And so knowing that what we're doing right now, I got this advice early in my 20s, that the knowledge, the skills, even like the spiritual development that's happening in us now is preparing us probably for a battle that's out in the future.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you don't think the win you want or the win that you're getting right now is setting you up for a future win.
Yeah.
Right. So and then in the Joshua story, I love the kind of the picture, the metaphor side of the Joshua story, that the weapons that they used, right? Like they did have to go in and fight the battle.
Yeah.
Once the walls came down, they had to enter into it, and they fought in a war,
Yeah.
right? But you get the point that like the battle was already kind of won when the walls came down.
Yeah.
So the reminder that there's always a spiritual battle. There's a battle before the battle.
Yeah.
And so even in our battles that we are facing, to make sure that we're winning the spiritual battle first,
Yeah.
which is a really important part of any
Yeah.
battle that we're going to enter in the practical.
Yeah.
So, okay, so those are a couple of takeaways. Any other things from yesterday?
I don't think so. I did really enjoy actually the fact that we like had a sermon and then we almost gave like practical opportunity, if you will, to like worship in the midst of everything. So like coming out of that, it's like, okay, let's remind ourselves that like, let's praise God in the midst of all of this and like let's enthrone him in the place that he should be. And so I really liked it was a different kind of service for us in the term of how we laid it out, but it was fun the way that it tied into the sermon.
Yeah, it's good to switch things up every once in a while. And even just to give ourselves out of our like normal weekly rhythm and routine kind of shakes things up a little bit.
Yeah.
So, and that some of that came out of just the idea that like in our conquering, worship is a part of our conquering.
Yep.
Like even just choosing to worship in the midst of the battle is part of like I've conquered what the enemy wants me to do, which is to abandon hope, abandon faith, and go do things on my own.
Yep.
So worshiping is part of the win.
Yeah.
So all right, so that was a recap. If you missed the sermon, you can go back. Of course, watch it on YouTube, watch it on Spotify, and then next week we'll conclude our Romans 8 series.
Yeah. It's kind of amazing that you are going to complete it. You know?
It is. Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it was only one chapter, but still.
Wow.
Yeah.
But we stuck to it.
We stuck to
We
it.
did. And now we're going to see if we can do it twice in a row by going to Ephesians 4.
It's going to be good.
Yeah, Ephesians 4, beginning September 8th.
Yeah.
Vintage Church. That'll be our next series. We'll do a little break September 1st. I'm going to preach a sermon in between the two series, but then we'll kick that off.
Yeah.
So, what else do we have going on? Between now and that, we have Feast and Worship.
Yeah.
Okay, give everyone like the practical side of Feast and Worship.
Okay, Feast and Worship. We are going to meet at 5:30. We are going to grill out hot dogs and hamburgers. We're going to have chips, and we're going to have a meal together before we go inside to worship. So bring your family, and we're going to have a lot of fun. And then we're going to head inside around 6:15, and we're going to get ready to worship. So we'll do kind of our normal flow of worship nights that we normally do on Sundays. It's just moved to a Wednesday. So we'll have prayer, we'll take communion, we'll sing, and we'll spend that kind of time together. And then we want you all to bring a dessert to share, because afterwards, once we have worked off our dinner,
Puppy Chow.
Puppy Chow, we will have dessert.
Puppy
and I'm not sure, but it does feel like Stephen would like you guys to bring Puppy Chow, but I could be wrong.
Did you pick up on that?
That's
amazing.
As something I'm sensing.
Yeah.
And so we'll have dessert together.
Every time you say dessert, I'm just going to say Puppy Chow. Okay.
We will enjoy something together.
Delicacies of the sweet nature.
Of the sweet nature out in the lobby following worship. So bring a delicacy to share.
That's great. So deep in your head. This is great.
I'm never going to say the word dessert again.
Puppy Chow. Yeah. This is fantastic.
Help me.
I feel like Jordan, our video guy, should just like flash pictures of Puppy Chow every time
like,
I said Puppy Chow
bam.
over the last 47 minutes. Okay. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah,
so that's
you.
the practical side. Let's talk about the spiritual side.
Yes.
So feast and worship, why the combination of those two things?
Well, I think that we wanted to have a moment to come together as a church.
Yep.
And it is in some sense a kickoff to us creating a new rhythm. We'll talk about this later, but Wednesday night is getting back into the rhythm of having church on Sunday, church on Wednesday. With life being so crazy, it's nice to have this healthy spiritual rhythm in some senses, but also community rhythm.
Yeah.
And so it's coming together. There is something special about sharing a meal with the people that you're in relationship with. So it gives us almost an opportunity to pause, breathe. For those of you that have families, it's like, here's a meal that you're not having to cook, and you just get to come together and share it with the people that are walking this life with you. And then to be able to go in and celebrate through our worship. So, yeah.
Yeah, Agreed. Great points. I think also all throughout the scriptures we see the combination of these two things,
Yeah.
like food and the feasting idea of it. And it's interesting. I was talking to somebody. They hear the word feast and they almost think like pagan.
Yeah.
But like feasting is our thing.
Yeah.
Like it really is all throughout the Old Testament. And then somebody was like brought up gluttony, and I think that's because we misunderstand actually what gluttony is, because the Word of God loves feasting.
Yeah.
By the way, gluttony is not eating a lot. Gluttony is the worship of food.
Yeah.
But these are two very different things that we can talk about later.
And we're not doing that, just to clarify.
No,
for the feast
we're
and
going to
worship.
worship Jesus.
Yes.
But we are going to eat food.
Yes.
Yeah, which you're allowed to do.
Yes.
In the scriptures. And but the idea then of that like original connection time, the familial time of eating together, sharing, just whatever, having conversation, enjoying food, all of that. But then like connecting that immediately into the idea then of going in and saying, okay, now I'm going to like feast in the Lord's presence of worshiping Him, but I'm also worshiping alongside the people that I just ate with.
Yeah.
Right. And so connecting that in, I really think it's going to be a fun thing for our church. It's going to be really a good part of our rhythm. I think it's really like you see that in the Old Testament, you see it in the New Testament. We do have a couple of things that we need to avoid, and I want to bring those up for you in particular, Kayla, because in Corinthians we're told not to get drunk at our feasting
gosh.
before we go into our time of worship and communion.
Thank you for bringing
Yes.
this up.
So I would appreciate you not doing that, or anyone else actually for that matter, because we're supposed to feast,
Yeah.
right, appropriately, and then go in and worship, and we'll
Yeah.
take communion together, seeing all of the things that we normally do.
Yep.
So this is going to be a part of our rhythm, and as we get into Wednesday nights being more a part of our rhythm, what we'll do is we'll start and end like every semester with a feast and a worship.
Yep.
So we're going to do this now, and then we'll do it, I guess that would be 8 days before Thanksgiving.
Yep.
That'll kind of conclude the first semester. Then we'll take a 6-week break, and then we'll do it again.
Yep.
Cool.
It's going to be good.
Feast and worship. So don't miss it. Next Wednesday, the 28th.
Yep.
5:30 dinner will begin, and then we'll have worship at 6:30. Then we'll have dessert afterwards. Yep. And then that'll conclude it.
Yeah.
And then after that, we'll get into our regular Wednesday rhythm.
Yeah. Tell us what to expect teaching wise.
Yeah.
For Wednesday rhythm.
Yeah, so from a teaching perspective, and I think the answering that question also probably helps us answer one of the biggest questions that people might have about Wednesday nights, which is, well, the biggest question is like, why should I go?
Yeah.
But then I think a secondary question on that is like, is Wednesday and Sunday the same thing? And the answer is no.
No.
They're not. They're different. And they're being done for different reasons. But to answer the question, like, why Wednesday night? First off, I did a full kind of special podcast on that. So this link actually is unlike veiled threat, fret, veiled death, veiled diet.
Fate.
She's like, my fate right now is not veiled. Anyway, the link is in the comments. Grab it. And you can watch a full video that I did on why Wednesday nights. But one of the reasons is just the rhythm, like the rhythm of Wednesday night. And then also with the extra time that we have on a Wednesday night versus a Sunday, we can do service format a little bit differently. So I and others, which is one of the side reason that I love Wednesday night, is that it provides outlet for other people to do things. And so this might mean other people teaching on Wednesday nights on our team, right? Mike, my dad, James may do a little bit of teaching on Wednesday night, but he's also going to help like pick up the youth group teaching burden or whatever. So he may, but others as well. And then also it provides an opportunity for you guys out there to do more volunteering on Wednesday nights. So whether that's teaching in kids or JBQ or whatever it might be. But we're going to be preaching and teaching through 1 Thessalonians. And so we're going to go verse by verse through the book of 1 Thessalonians, kind of cover it. And then once we get done with 1 Thessalonians, I don't know what we'll do next. Maybe we'll do 2 Thessalonians because that seems like a natural thing to do next. So that's what we'll be doing. But there's also going to be time on Wednesday nights where we'll, at the end of the teaching, we'll get together in like little groups that will just form that night. So 5 to 10 minutes, like, hey, get to know somebody around you.
Yep.
There'll be 2 questions on the screen, talk about those questions, and then pray for each other. So it'll be a really good way of helping us grow community, make new connections on Wednesday nights.
Yeah. It's going to be a really good time to be able to. I think sometimes the making the connections point can be really hard.
Yeah.
Like a Sunday after service, like everyone's kind of exiting the building. You have plans for lunch. And on Wednesday night, having it almost built into the service,
Yes.
it takes the pressure off of you having to initiate it on your own.
Yep. We'll force it.
We will.
Yeah.
But also, we've
In
done
the
this
best way
before. We've done this before when we did Partnership Track
Yeah, we
2
did.
on Wednesday nights. And there was such good feedback about being able to connect with people in that way, in that kind of setting where like we're giving you the questions to ask. Now just pray for each other. And
Yeah.
we should be in a practice of praying with each other. So we're just kind of presenting that opportunity.
Yes, I think that we understand, like almost in as individuals in our regular families, like our or even our friendship groups, that there is an element of organic that is beautiful, right? So you send the random text like, "Hey, do you want to go do something right now?" And it's like, "Yeah, I do." Okay, right. And like we have that in our familiar relationships, but we also understand the need for rhythm, and so many families will have like, "This is our family night," and right. And even as your family grows or it becomes extended family, right? Or you get married or you have kids or whatever, like mom and dad say, "Hey, still this night is our night. Bring your kids. We're all going to be together," and that rhythm is really healthy. And so what we're doing is we're not trying to discourage the organic nature of the Redemption family. If you have a life group that meets, if you have a Bible study that gets together, if you just hang out with people in church, continue to do that. But what we're trying to do is establish a rhythm, right? Outside of just Sunday morning that says this is when the family gets together. Okay, then even in our gatherings, we understand like in our home or family gatherings, that there is the organic and the rhythmic as well. So if you have a family dinner, you might get into meaningful conversation, or praying with each other, whatever. But also there's value to doing intentional rhythmic things. So, whether that's like for us, like if we have like a family night where we're not going to invite anyone else, it's just going to be us and the kids, right? We always stop and we go around and pray. And I always say, Reagan, do you want to pray first? And we pray for each person in the family, right? And Reagan does the same prayer at this point in her life. It's pretty cute. Dear God, like please keep them safe and healthy. Amen. Right? And she'll pray that for all of us. But there's value in building the intentional rhythm around it. And when we talk about what you just talked about, we're going to do on Wednesday nights, like breaking up in a little group for 10 minutes, going through 2 questions, praying for each other. What are we doing? We're just creating an intentional rhythm. Doesn't negate the power of organic stuff, but it's good to do that. And I'm looking forward to us being able to do that on Wednesday nights.
I agree with that. It's going to be a really good time. So do not miss it.
Nope. No, you'll lose 9 redemption points.
Oof.
Which is a lot.
It's a
more
lot.
than you've ever accumulated. So
it's an uphill battle.
Yes, less than a conqueror. And I think that there's opportunity. Papa Chow. There's an opportunity for us to make new connections too. Like sometimes you just sit in the same place on Sunday. Like just by default. And so you sit in the same place and everyone else sits in the same place. So you never actually meet anybody new. So Wednesday nights, it'll change up the rhythm. So your future friend, your future mentor, your future spouse might just be waiting for you on Wednesday nights.
It might.
Might be. I am already married, so don't need to do that.
Yeah.
We won't talk about your relationship life, but wow.
Oh, thanks for joining us for this episode of the Redemption Recap.
We'll see you soon. Have a great life.
The Redemption Recap is an extension of Redemption Church. For more information about the church, please visit experienceredemption.com. Thanks for stopping by.